One of the big talking points for this Baylor football team has been their success in recruiting throughout this 2023 class, and that continued on as they've added yet another piece this week to their 2023 class, up to 24 commitments now in the 2023 group. And the latest, another local product, so to speak, from down the road in Killeen, Brandon Bett, the Killeen Ellison defensive lineman, the latest to pledge to Baylor, did so just a couple of days ago, and he is commit number 24. So this one I know has been expected for a while. They're bolstering the D-line, but I mean, at this point, 24, they bolstered pretty much everything on this roster that they've needed to so far. But I'm sure, Grayson, there's still more to do, but let's get into Brendan Bett and what he brings to this roster.
Yeah, I mean, so just kind of looking on the outside, since June 11th, how many commits do you think Baylor has landed now?
Oh, like
What would be your
12?
guess? Yeah, 16.
Okay, yeah.
Bett becomes commit number 16 in less than 2 months. Just really impressive what they've done all summer long. Bett comes in, another big body on the defensive line, and that's kind of what they're looking for. He's right around that 6'4" mark, right around there, 6'4", 6'5", and he's got a massive frame. I know I've heard some rumors that he's around 290 now. I thought he was probably somewhere around 280 by the time, summer had ended. But 290, if he's really already there and he's 6'4", I mean, he's a guy who already has the body, already has the makeup to be a college defensive lineman. I think he's got some positional versatility as well. I kind of view him as playing Gabe Hall role in Baylor's defense, or potentially, I know some have mentioned this, a nose tackle as well. He does have a very thick frame, so maybe there's an opportunity there as well. I know Colorado, SMU, Texas Tech recruited him pretty hard, but at the end of the day, Baylor was his leader ever since he took his official visit. This is one I felt really good about all the way back in mid-June. It just took him a little while. He wanted to take a few more visits. He wanted to take his time a little bit. And honestly, he almost took too much time. Because Baylor really has been trying to figure out what they're going to do with their last few spots, and they really wanted him to get in, but it's just been so long. It almost been a month and a half since he kind of basically had already made his decision, and then he just kept waiting and waiting. So I'm glad it finally happened. Good for Brendan, good for Baylor to add another Central Texas product. He fits in really well with what they need on the defensive line, and he pretty much has solidified that position now for Baylor in this class. If they find a best available, maybe they'll take one up front. But at the end of the day, they got the pieces they want on the defensive line to where they don't need to feel any more pressure about adding any guys up front.
Yeah, and we had the media session yesterday. I'll have a piece out at some point on the defensive line and just the depth that they have and what they've accrued there over time. It's pretty impressive to see. And the offensive line as well, if you see Caden Siraki out there or Alvin Ebiselli, and you realize those are like two of their youngest offensive linemen, and yet they're the biggest dudes out there. And then you look at, the defensive line, and there's Apu and those guys, but you start to see some of the youngins that are out there as well, like Trey Emery. Yeah. And it's pretty amazing what they're building or what Dave Aranda's got going on. And, of course, there's going to be changes and fluctuations to have to deal with. He's not going to be able to keep his coaching staff intact for the next 20 years, which would be nice. But, man alive, I tried to say this on the radio yesterday and didn't know how else to explain it. And plus, we have like kind of a semi-national audience at times, and so they're not going to quite understand it. But and I'm almost hesitant to say it because it brings back bad memories, and that's not the intention. But this is feeling like it did before all hell broke loose, basically. If you remember where the program was and how high they were flying before all of a sudden shoes dropped everywhere and there was a scandal and, everything just went haywire. If you can somehow remember all those years ago to what they felt like when they had Cam Martin and Kellen Mond and all those guys committed, and they had just come off the Russell Athletic Bowl win, which was impressive, and you just knew like they're going to be in contention every single year. Every single year they're going to be vying for a Big 12 championship. The recruiting had started to improve, and like there just really wasn't anything in their way. The only difference is they hadn't won a bowl game like Dave Aranda's already won, and then followed and had that follow a Big 12 title, and they didn't have to win a championship game because there was no championship game. And so Aranda's already done that. He's already done the bowl game part, And I know that's probably going to have people clutching pearls because they're like, oh, God, that means something bad's going to happen, which is why I'm even hesitant to say anything. But I don't believe in that. Screw that. They've got a good thing going on, and it needs to be talked about that they're where they were, if not beyond where they were. And that's exciting because here is this season that could, very well be far more difficult schedule-wise, but so what? They got a really good program rolling into this year.
Yeah, and I truthfully think it's more sustainable.
I mean, that's fair. I'm just saying, like, it's where it was.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just to me, from my opinion on it, I think it's more sustainable because they're recruiting on the defensive line and offensive line at a just ridiculous level. You know, Art and that staff, they did a great job recruiting, but it was more so receivers, skill positions, which is great. That's awesome. But in today's day and age of college football, if you can't win up front, you're going to run into some issues. You're going to have some seasons where things don't go your way and you're unable to compensate for those things. And we saw it, late in the game against, Michigan State. Mm-hmm. The offense kind of fizzled out because they couldn't run the football. Right. And when they couldn't run the football, Michigan State kept getting the ball back and kept scoring. And so I think this is a system that's very, very sustainable. They're building on both lines, and you're going to start to see the talent at the skill positions come in eventually. But I'm not worried about it because in the state of Texas, you can walk a mile and you'll find a really good receiver in the state of Texas. It's all about the big guys, and Baylor's doing an incredible job of recruiting massive defensive linemen who fit their scheme and massive offensive linemen who can move well enough to play in the wide zone scheme as well. So I'm very impressed. They have a great thing going. And it just got even better today. I wanted to bring out a little report that I posted on the website today. Texas A&M cornerback Bravion Rogers, he decommitted today. Or last night, I guess, late at night. It was like 11 p.m. And
check bounced.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, no. So
it's all fair. Who cares? Who cares?
So he goes to LaGrange, same school as Jaron Woods, who's committed to Baylor. A lot of speculation is that Bravion's going to go to LSU. I understand that. They probably have the most momentum right now. But Baylor is squarely in on him. He's a top 50 consensus prospect in the entire nation. My expectation is that he's going to take an official visit this fall, or at least an unofficial visit, maybe take an official at the end of the season. But he would be the fourth highest rated commit / signee. I know we're a ways out from that. He's not commit or anything, but that's the kind of level prospect that he is. A very good cornerback, a guy who could potentially start day one for Baylor. So a guy to definitely keep an eye on, and one that would be extremely intriguing. And it kind of all goes back to the point that I made in previous episodes. When we talk about what Baylor's trying to do to finish their recruiting class, a lot of it is going to be swinging for the fences, trying to hit home runs with their last couple spots. And Bravion Rogers was a name that decided to open up his commitment, and now Baylor is going to do everything they can to try to land him and try to get him on campus. And you want to talk about a difference maker, he absolutely would be that. He'd be a game changer for this recruiting class. And outside of Austin Novosad, if they were able to land him, I think he could bring the most talent to the table that they've had at the cornerback position in a really long time. It's very impressive, and we'll see what happens. But I thought I'd get everyone that name on the radar at least.